Who do you think you are right now? What kind of a person do you think you are? Because a lot of the times we create identities for ourselves based on the thoughts and the patterns that are playing in our head. And a lot of these times we're unaware of the fact that these are simply patterns that are playing in our head. Because 3 years ago when I started meditating, I became aware of the fact that I had a lot of patterns in my head that simply weren't true. I would tell myself, I'm not a confident person. I'm a shy person. I don't like talking to people. I'm introverted, right? All these labels, all these patterns that I didn't even know were patterns, and I would consider them to be who I really am. And then I started to realize that a lot of these thoughts aren't really who I am, that I don't need to create an identity around these thoughts. I began to simply observe those thoughts, and then my whole life began to completely change because these thoughts didn't have to control my actions as much anymore. These thoughts didn't have to define who I really am as a person. So the question is, who do you think you are? What kind of a person do you think you are? Consider the fact that maybe a lot of these thoughts that you're having and who you think you are might be false and might be just a pattern that you created a couple years back. And you might have picked up this pattern from somebody around you, from the collective, maybe your parents, maybe your friends, maybe somebody at school when you were younger. And you told yourself so much this pattern, like you're not confident, or you're not an athletic person. I don't go to the gym. That's just who I am. Like that's just how I am as a person. That's just who he is. He's not a talkative person. That's how he always was. What do you mean? Well, it might be a pattern. It might not be true. So consider the fact that you might have a lot of patterns that are playing in your head, and you developed a belief because thoughts that play on autopilot every single day without you realizing it become who you think you are. And you develop a belief around who you think you are and the world around you. And a lot of the times, these patterns are not serving us. Maybe they serve us to a certain extent. Maybe your whole life you had to use that thought and pattern as a survival mechanism to get through life. But maybe it's time to become aware of these patterns and simply let them go and replace them with new ones. Maybe it's time to let go of the old patterns and let in the new. So what kind of patterns do you have? Are you telling yourself things like you're not confident? Or maybe if you have a passion, like, that's just, I'm not that kind of person to, be in line with my passion. That's not what I do. Maybe you like to draw. Maybe you like to make videos. Maybe you have an art that you love to do, and you're just simply not being that person. You're trying to be that person. You have a pattern in your head saying, I'm trying to be that person. Well, how about you develop a pattern and you just tell yourself, that's who I am right now. Change who you are. Change the identity. Change who you think you are, because it's not all about what you're doing, but who you are being in the moment. But in order to change who you are, you have to first have the awareness of the patterns of who you currently think you are. Because to make a shift in your identity of who you think you are, you have to first become aware of who you think you are right now. So that's the question. Who do you think you are right now? What kind of a person are you? And is that really who you are? And can it be changed? Because a lot of the times, who you think you are is false. It's not who you really are. It's just a pattern. And even if you change the pattern to something that's better, that's not who you are either. So the point is not to develop an identity around your thoughts, because when you believe in every single thought that you have, you might be setting yourself up and limiting yourself in life, because there's so much expansion and potential that every single human being has. But when you limit yourself to these thoughts and these patterns that are playing in your head, you can't reach your full potential and your full purpose in life, because these thoughts are just sort of holding you back. They're not serving you. These thoughts are not serving us a lot of the times. So ask yourself, is it possible that maybe a lot of these patterns are holding you back? Is it possible that maybe a lot of these patterns are not who you really are? So that's why what I invite you guys to do is to watch those thoughts and not really identify with them as much. Because when you stop taking them so seriously, when you stop believing in every single thought that you're thinking, you can become much more present and you can become much more who you're meant to be, who you actually want to be, who you really want to be. Stop really attaching to all these thoughts, because you have these thoughts playing, and I know it might sound repetitive, but I want to drill it into your head so that you can really stop believing in these fictional thoughts. And a lot of them are really a fiction of your mind. It's a false identity that you're creating. So what I invite you to do is to observe your thoughts, become aware of patterns, and maybe try to replace them with new ones. But it begins with the awareness, because in the awareness of those patterns, you can begin to let them go and create new ones. So start observing who you think you are. Start observing what you tell yourself every single day. Because if I was to show you the thoughts that you're having every single day, you would notice that it's the same kind of thoughts every single day. And you might not be happy with this identity that you're creating for yourself in a false way. So start observing your thoughts. Question who you think you are. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Have yourself a great day. Done.